from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
Coming up on Ag Day, as NAFTA talks kick off, can Ag afford the administration to walk away? The Kansas wildfires were months ago, so where's the disaster relief money? In agribusiness, a record corn crop.
You know, it's pretty surprising considering we had the decreasing ratings virtually all summer.
Drovers TV's talking cattle handling and transportation, and hands-free maintenance inspections with help from robotics.
Ag Day, presented by the Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. After a short hiatus from NAFTA 2.0 negotiations, leaders from the three nations kicking off meetings in Mexico Wednesday. Those talks coming on the heels of President Trump's whirlwind trip to Asia, a trip the president called a great success.
I think one of the things we really accomplished big is relationship, and also letting people know that from now on things are going to be reciprocal. We can't have trade deficits of 30, 40, 50 billion, 300 billion in the case of China. We can't do that. We have to have reciprocal trade. What's good for them is good for us.
It's a fair trade deal that the president has been stressing since the campaign trail, and with threats of walking away from NAFTA, U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross saying just this week that striking a new deal by early 2018 is enormously complex. Ross even faulting the ag industry, saying it's ag leaders that are making negotiations even more difficult as those groups are voicing a greater level of concern over the direction of NAFTA 2.0 talks so far. But Ross expecting some sort of agreement to be reached and hit the president's desk next year, as he says NAFTA is on a very short time fuse. Many ag leaders, including former Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack, say nixing NAFTA isn't an option.
Well, I don't think that's a result that U.S. agriculture is going to accept. And at the end of the day, I think there are a lot of other industries that feel very similar to this. I think the responsibility for the administration is to figure out creatively how to get the job done. They were right to raise the issue of modernizing and renegotiating NAFTA, but now they have to bring it home.
As uncertainty heightens regarding the future of NAFTA, economists say walking away from this 2-decade-old deal would do serious harm to U.S. ag.
I'll put it this way. So Dave Cole on our Sunday conference at the ABA conference, he said, without NAFTA, we're looking at the 1980s. And I have to agree with him. NAFTA is a big part of our trade package. NAFTA delivers a lot of ag export markets. And without it, I think we're going to see a pretty significant decline in sales and revenues for our farmers.
I mean, if you were to remove it quickly, you're talking serious depression here. I mean, just think about corn and soybean prices. Now we've got a huge crop. Where's it going to go? Some of it's going to go to our NAFTA partners. And when it does that, that helps prices here. The same's true in the milk side. We ship lots of dry milk powder and other dairy products to Mexico.
The most contentious issues for the U.S. are dairy, automotive, dispute settlement, and then the 5-year sunset clause. But in total, there are 28 areas that negotiators are trying to agree on. And now that U.S. lawmakers are focused on tax reform, expectations are that the key issues within NAFTA won't be sorted through until 2018. 8 months have passed since massive wildfires tore through the central and southern plains. For some victims, they're still waiting on promised assistance from Washington. Nearly 2 million acres over 4 states were scorched by the fast-moving fires last March. Thousands of miles of fencing supported by wooden posts were destroyed. The generosity helped some ranchers restore fencing, but not all. Some producers are still waiting on payments from the federal government. Betsy Gibbon investigates.
Another post is being drilled in the ground in Beaver County, Oklahoma, with a truckload more to go by mid-morning.
We built a mile yesterday and a mile the day before. That's pretty good for just old country bumpkins from Tennessee.
This T-post team rolled into the county without even knowing rancher Bernie Smith.
We have a volunteer crew building fence today, and we're going to be building fence maybe into spring.
Rebuilding is expensive, the average repair costing $10,000 per mile. And many of these producers are still waiting to receive their fencing rebuilding payments from the government.
We have not received anything yet, but as we build our fences, we turn in our paperwork, and they assure us that they're going to pay us, I believe it's 75%.
It's the same situation for these 3 sisters who help operate Giles Ranch in Ashland, Kansas. They have not turned in all of their payments. However, 30,000 acres burned in less than 2 hours. Over 100 miles of fence burned with it.
I know no one that's received a payment yet. If they have it, their fencing completed. The people in our office are wonderful people, trained very hard to do their best to do their job, but their hands are tied.
Earlier this year, the administration realigned a number of offices within USDA, putting FSA, NRCS, and RMA under one umbrella to share facilities with the hope to improve customer service. Betchert says FSA in her county is now short-staffed due to the restructuring.
You really can't staff for disasters because typically you don't know when they're going to happen, you don't know where you're going to need the staff, and so what we're finding is we're having to move a lot of resources to those disaster-affected areas to try to accommodate the workload.
FSA's Emergency Conservation Program, ECP, provides funding to restore fence from a natural disaster. Producers need to complete paperwork and submit invoices to FSA.
They have to inspect every inch of your fence before you can get a payment. Hundreds of miles, thousands of miles in our county, and they expect 2 people in one office to be able to efficiently inspect all of that.
Peterson says NRCS and FSA are working together with inspecting fence, splitting resources to help more efficiently.
I think that all offices like the fact that they can try to provide producers some assistance before the end of the year, before the holidays, that type of thing. However, there's no guarantee that we can do that.
They pulled together jump teams of employees from other locations to help and assist with inspections.
And as I talked to the FSA officers, there just weren't enough FSA officers to go out and inspect all the fence.
Kansas lawmakers, Representative Roger Marshall and Senator Jerry Moran, introduced a package of 4 bills earlier this month. They hope will improve livestock disaster programs through ECP and the Livestock Indemnity Program, also known as LIP, which aids producers with the loss of cattle during a natural disaster.
And our bill would allow them to go get get this money payment, get a part of the payment already before they build the fence.
As ranchers like Smith build a legacy, they'll take the help anyway from anywhere they can get it. Reporting for AgDay, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
All right, thanks, Betsy. She says some producers have received payments for the cattle they lost through the LIP program. Let's check in on crop conditions across the country. For that, we turn to our own Mike Hoffman in today's Crop Comments. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning to you, Clinton. It's been a tough harvest in some parts of the country this year. Check out this picture from Bradley Winkle in Ohio on Twitter. A friend lost their combine to a fire this week. Luckily, everyone got out safely, but they still have 400 acres to go. Bradley says it's been raining a lot and they need Mother Nature to help them to get finished. And take a look at this side-by-side of winter canola in Oklahoma by Brent Rendell. He says one field was planted October 3rd, the other just 10 days later. Both in the same conditions, and the early planted field is way ahead. He says it goes to show how important planting dates can be. And taking a look at the root zone moisture, you can see no real major areas showing up. There's some wet areas and dry areas across the corn belt and the other growing regions. We'll take a closer look at this and have your forecast coming up. But first, here are some hometown temps.
Farm Journal On Air is the go-to app for American agriculture. AgDay, AgriTalk, U.S. Farm Report, and more. 24/7 access to all of your favorite shows, TV and radio. In your hands, on demand. Farm Journal On Air. Download the app today.
USDA is calling for a record corn crop. What does Mark Gold think? He shares his thoughts and price implications coming up in analysis. And as farmers know, inspecting machinery is a hands-on task. But one industry is hoping for hands-off. With the USDA calling for a record corn crop, market analysts are readjusting expectations. Tyne Morgan has more from the road in today's analysis.
Here now with Mark Gold of Top Third. Mark, we're coming off this latest USDA report. I mean, who would have thought that we would see that big of an increase in this national corn yield?
You know, it's pretty surprising considering we had the decreasing ratings virtually all summer. But we had a little hint as these ratings started to improve in October. As long as I've been around, I've never seen crop conditions improve in October. And I think that gave us a little hint, but it's a staggering number. It just shows you how good these genetics are. that even when you don't have rain in July and August, if you get rain in September, you can still make a crop.
Exactly, and at this point, this late in the season, you can no longer doubt these USDA numbers. I mean, they're pretty solid at this point.
I would think so, and guys are going to say these numbers aren't possible considering the summer ratings, but they are possible. It is what it is, and you can't, in this case, can't fight City Hall, and you have to deal with what's in front of you. And what's in front of you, when you're at this meeting and you hear about all the piles of corn that are still out there from last year, and we're going to pile more on top, we have a tough situation here.
Prices definitely aren't at break-even levels for some producers. So at this point, how much more can corn handle when we're looking at this massive of a crop again this year?
Well, we have to do something out there. I mean, one idea I've been kind of kicking around is maybe a new CRP program. We need to take 5 or 10 million acres out of production. Have to do it. Otherwise, if we have a great growing season next year, we've got a problem. But when you take those acres out of CRP, they can only come back into non-GMO because there's a strong demand for non-GMO crops, and the farmers don't want to take that 3 years off and get the fields cleaned out. So maybe this way you can lose some production. I'm sure there'll be some people against an idea like that, but I think if you want to survive the farm economy over the next year or two, we've got to do something drastic. We can't hope and pray that we get a drought in South America. We can't hope and pray that there's another problem here.
So what about for those producers that really didn't sell much corn last year because prices weren't that good, hung on, hoping that maybe we would get more favorable prices, and now looking at this year's crop coming out? What's your advice for them?
Well, in my opinion, you've got to, first of all, if you're thinking about putting it in commercial storage, don't. It's going to cost you 4 cents a month to put it in commercial storage or more. You can sell the corn, do it on an HTA for a July delivery, try to pick up some basis between now and then re-own those bushels with a call option. If you're storing it on farm, you've got to maintain a put option underneath this, because I don't know that, considering we've broken out of this long range in the corn, could it be another 30 or 40 cents lower? It could be. So if you can spend 6-8 cents on a put to protect it. Prices of options are cheap today. So there are things you can do if you're willing to do them.
All right, Mark Gold of Top Third. We appreciate it, Mark. Thank you so much. Stay with us. We need to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more Ag Day.
For a special report on the grain markets, call toll-free at 877-TT-HEDGE. That's 877-884-3343.
Receive a free trial of the Daily Grain Plan newsletter from Roach Ag Marketing. Text Roach to 31313. Start your subscription today by texting Roach to 31313.
Ag Day weather, brought to you by Kawasaki and the new Mule Pro FXR side-by-side. Ride like a boss with high-end styling and rugged capability.
Welcome back to Ag Day. Meteorologist Mike Hoffman. Mike, I know harvest has been kind of a tough go for a lot of folks out there. You look at Nebraska, it's wet on the ground out there.
It really is. The latest root zone moisture showing that. There are other wet pockets across the northern plains and into the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes and Southeast, as you can see here, which has been causing some issues. Now, there obviously are some dry areas as well, like the central Mississippi Valley, especially Arkansas and Missouri, and parts of the East Coast, as you can see, but those aren't as big a concern this time of year as it would be during the actual growing season in most of these areas. All right, let's take a look at things. We have 2 areas of low pressure, one off the East Coast and one in the Great Lakes, and we have 2 in the West as well. Let's put the maps into motion. High pressure giving most of the middle of the country dry conditions, but you can see a lot of rain moving through New England, a few showers in southern Florida. On the backside of these storm systems then in the northeast will be some lake effect snow. I don't see any major amounts there. And you can see this whole system. This is a powerful system coming east, and it's producing a lot of moisture through the Rockies, and it will as it comes into the plains, especially as you see this plume of moisture coming northward out of the Gulf. Once that gets involved, it will really moisten up once again for some of those areas that are still trying to harvest their crops. Taking a look at tomorrow then, you can see as we head through the day. Now this is kind of good news for western Nebraska that's very wet like we showed you. Most of this moisture doesn't happen until it gets east of you, but the showers start to break out across the northern Mississippi Valley, some snow on the northwest side of that area of low pressure. And that will continue to move northeast. Pretty cold air coming in behind it, by the way. Precipitation estimates past 24 hours. There's the first system and the one out west. Let's add in the next 36. You can see we're not going to add a lot to the southeast or the mid-Atlantic, but we'll add a fair amount in parts of New England, and we're really adding a lot out west. Look at that moisture. That's several inches of melted down snow in the Sierra Nevada range, so that'll be a lot of snow. In fact, you can already see over the past 24 hours we've seen some there. Adding in the next 36 hours, we don't add too much in the Northeast, but we do a little bit, northern lakes into northern New England. But boy, some of the higher elevations of the northern and central Rockies getting pummeled with heavy snow. Taking a look at the afternoon temperatures, you can see 30s and 40s through the Great Lakes in the Northeast, 70s by the time you get to the Gulf Coast. Lows tonight going to drop into the 30s through most of the eastern Corn Belt, even 40s into the Atlanta area. High temperatures tomorrow starts to warm up over Texas, still chilly Great Lakes into the Northeast. You can see on the jet stream that first trough moves away. Second one digs in and brings a shot of cold air for this weekend into the Great Lakes in the Northeast. And then this is very cold air going to start to come southward as we head toward Thanksgiving. We'll be keeping an eye on that for you. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First of all, Pueblo, Colorado today, lots of sunshine and warmer. High temperature up to 72 degrees. Jackson, Mississippi, partly sunny and comfortable, high of 72. And finally, Wheeling, West Virginia, mostly cloudy, breezy and chilly, high 41.
We're talking beef markets next on our Drovers Report, and later inspections are vitally important but extremely tedious. We'll see how one industry is trying out robots today on In the Country.
Instinct and N-Serve nitrogen stabilizers don't just stabilize nitrogen, they maximize it, so corn crops give the max in return. Learn more at maxinmaxout.com. Drovers TV on AgDay is brought to you by QLF. For 40 years, QLF has been proud to support American farmers that feed the world.
On Drovers TV, the world's largest meat packer says it's done selling pieces of its business. JBS citing better earning prospects in the U.S. following a series of bribery scandals earlier in the year. The company says it raised nearly $2 billion in the past few months, selling pieces of its beef, chicken, and dairy operations, including the sale of its Five Rivers cattle feeding division. The company says that's far enough. It's now on solid financial footing. The Checkoff-funded Beef Quality Assurance Program has launched a new training and certification program for cattle hauling. It's known as the Beef Quality Assurance Transportation, and it provides cattle producers and haulers with best practices to help improve cattle care and protect beef quality when moving livestock.
According to spokesman for BQA, participating BQA transportation will be an indicator that the beef and dairy industries are committed to responsible animal care during transportation and makes both the BQA and dairy farm animal care programs more complete.
The BQA program was first funded by the Beef Checkoff in the early 1990s and developed its first guidance on transportation in 2006. Now, the online training will include a program specifically designed for farmers and ranchers who use stock trailers for smaller loads of cattle. You can learn more at bqa.org. And wouldn't it be nice to have a robot do your machinery inspection? The airline industry thinks it may have a solution. Details next.
AgDay, brought to you by Credenz soybean seed from Bayer, designed using smart genetics with tailored varieties to fit any field condition. In the Country, brought to you by Kubota. Check out Kubota's RTVX 1140, a rugged utility vehicle with seating for 4. Stop by your local dealer today or visit Kubota.com.
Autonomous technology is moving into the aviation industry. A France-based technology company unveiled its smart robot at the Dubai Air Show. It's designed to inspect commercial aircraft before takeoff. The Air Cobot, meaning collaborative robot, can be manually controlled, programmed to follow an operator or work fully autonomously. While soaring drones look through the interior cabin, the Air Cobot is able to conduct a thorough inspection of the plane's exterior using infrared cameras and 3D imaging. Human co-workers can monitor those inspections in real time, and reports are generated automatically.
When you have something on the tail of the aircraft, it's very difficult for the inspector to go at the right level to see exactly what's happened. So with the robot and the arm which can be deployed, you can go up to the tail and see exactly what's happened.
The Cobot was created through a joint research project involving numerous companies, including airplane maker Airbus. This technology fits neatly into Airbus plans for the hangar of the future, which would scan jetliners as they enter and exit the hangar. It's pretty interesting, and that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. Start your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.
AgDay, brought to you by Ram Commercial, America's longest-lasting heavy-duty pickups.